Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another video. I actually didn't want to make this video. I thought about it for quite some time and I ended up coming to the conclusion that yes, Jay, you should make this video because look, I'm all about stories. I'm all about correcting things that I see that are wrong. Okay, that I see that there's been a little bit of injustice happening. And look, there's a lesson to be learned in almost everything. And I hope that this is a lesson or perceived as a lesson that somebody can do better. Like I'm addressing this video to Andrew Klavan and his team. And it may come across that I am acting all petty, and under normal circumstances, I would just let it go. But for me personally, what happened to me, and I'll explain in just a moment what happened, you'll understand why I believe that I am making this video. Because first and foremost, if you claim to be a Christian, you should act like a Christian first and foremost, and how you treat other Christians, not just other Christians, but people in general. Secondly, you should actually respect and honor a person's time. Thirdly, you should actually respect and honor your commitment to a person and their time. And also, you should act in a professional manner. Now, this has completely changed my opinion on Andrew Klavan and the Daily Wire. And personally, like when I was thinking about this, I'm like, Jay, you shouldn't mention his name. You should be kind enough not to mention his name. And I'm like, no, the thing is, this is a learning experience. A little bit of a backstory for you all. I decided not to interview anyone really last year. I was very selective with who I chose to have on my show. And thanks to you guys, the show grew enormously with me just doing my own videos and talking about random stuff that was happening in the world, random issues, right? Well, not really random issues, but, you know, the trans issue and everything else that popped up. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you. And because I decided to be very guarded with my time of late, because I've built this show for the last 4 or 5 years. I didn't really take a break. I was doing countless interviews and it just burnt me out a little bit. So I was like, you know, I'm getting sick and tired of the repetitive nature of the messages that I'm getting. I love interviewing people, but I'm going to take a little bit of a rest. I'm going to focus on something else, some things that I'm actually more interested in and excited about. And so, yeah, last year I decided not to interview anyone really. And then I decided this year to interview people that I really wanted to speak to. And, you know, last year I was getting pitched left, right, and center, and I still get pitched to this day. And that's just what happens. And maybe this video may stop me getting pitched. Who knows? Maybe it just allows me to reach out to people and ask them if they want to come on my show and speak to me. And me being very selective has, you know, obviously meant that I don't have as many interviews anymore, which I'm fine with. Okay. Like, I think the nature of the story box has somewhat changed over time. And I've sort of evolved and grown as a result of that. And that's just how things go when you run a podcast. I've somehow become even more controversial, believe it or not, in my inner circles, which is quite funny. Anyway, with that all being said, recently this year, I was pitched the likes of Andrew Klavan, and I personally was a fan of his show and who he is as a person. I've listened to him for quite some time, and I would have loved to have spoken to Andrew and had him on my show and had a good conversation with him. So I said yes. I said yes. Let's have Andrew on the show. I'm really looking forward to having him and speaking to him. And I would love to promote whatever he wants to promote. It's just the nature of having a podcast. You just have different people on your show all the time, and it just opens you up to having new audience members, I guess, join your show. Now, Andrew Klavan obviously has got a massive audience of his own, so he doesn't really need me. Right. But even still, I've got a decent enough audience to be able to promote him. A lot of people know who he is. Right. And it opens up a new opportunity for him, I guess, to have new people that may have actually listened to our conversation, liked it, and gone, you know what, I'm going to be a regular listener of Andrew Klavan. And, well, so they organize a time for tomorrow, believe it or not. So February 27th for me and February 26th for Andrew. And things were great. Things were looking up. And anyway, I received an email this morning from the publicist that pitched me Andrew Klavan, which we've had a good working relationship in the past as well, had no issues whatsoever. And she's confirmed the interview with Andrew for tomorrow for me. And I'm like, yes, all confirmed. And then she asked me the dreaded question, which I honestly hate, and you'll soon see why in just a moment. She asked me, can you please send a viewership link so that the publicist can actually join the podcast and listen in? The only reason why I've found that publicists want to listen in is so that they can control the conversation. In the past that I've had publicists listen in to the podcasts that I've had, it has ruined the conversation. It is unnerving to have somebody that you don't want there, and then they can interrupt you at any point in time. Or it's not just they can interrupt you at any point in time. After you've done the conversation, they will send you an email of a list of things that they deem to be unworthy of publishing to try and protect their so-called client. Now, Andrew Klavan, I understand he is a figure, part of the Daily Wire conglomerate, right? He said some very overtly controversial things in the past. He said that, okay? I understand the Daily Wire is trying to protect Andrew Klavan, but here's the thing. I always ask my guests if there's anything off limits, out of respect for them, what is it? And then I won't even bother asking that. You can check with any of the many podcast guests I've had on the show. Each and every one of them has had a fantastic experience, and I've ended up being friends with the vast majority of them afterwards. So I wasn't worried at all. Now, having grown my show, and that's a huge thanks to each and every one of you for continuing to watch on, I'm able to say yes and no and set my own conditions for things. And the only thing that I said was a condition of mine was I'm not going to send a viewership link, or I'm not going to allow the publicist into our conversation. I wanted to have just me and Andrew having a genuine, organic conversation, no prepped questions at all, nobody else listening in trying to ruin the conversation, unnerve me, because that's what it does. My Justin Baldoni conversation, we were flowing. We're having a good conversation. Then all of a sudden, the publicist chimes in mid-question and disrupts the flow of the conversation. And even Justin Baldoni saw it. Even he wasn't too happy about the publicist chiming in at the time. It was honestly disrespectful, and it harmed what could have been a fantastic relationship and conversation between me and Justin. And also, I've had several other experiences where that's taken place, and I've just decided, you know what? If I ever have a big enough audience to promote somebody, I'm not going to have the publicist on the other end of the line. I'm not. I didn't have the publicist on the other end of the line for Matthew McConaughey, for goodness sake, who is an A-lister. So this kind of stuff, it pisses me off. I don't know if you've already noticed that, but it pisses me off. I tried explaining this to the publicist. After, keep in mind, they've confirmed the conversation for tomorrow. So I've given up my time. I have cleared my schedule. I have given up other opportunities to be able to speak to Andrew. And also I had things afterwards that I've had to rearrange, and you know what? It's a whole thing. Okay. So I'm protective of my time, and I gave up my time, which is just as precious as Andrew's time. 100%. It's just as precious as Andrew's time. I've given that up to have him on my show and promote his book and promote him. Obviously, he doesn't need to come on my show, but he's in publicity touring thing. The more he does, the better it is for him. Okay? So that being said, I have said to the publicist that I'm not going to be sending a viewership link. They've then come back to me not long after and said, thank you for this updated information. We've chosen not to continue with this opportunity. Meaning the interview's done, cancelled. We've just decided to move on. Just like that. And I've read this going, are you kidding me? You haven't told me from the very beginning that this was actually one of the conditions. If you had told me this was one of the conditions from the very beginning, it would have made my decision a lot clearer, and perhaps we could have spoken and worked something out. before, a day before the interview happens, while I've rescheduled everything. It's as if they don't care about somebody's time. You know how unprofessional it is? I get if someone's had a medical emergency or they're sick or whatever else. You can then reschedule. It's okay. I understand things happen. This is very different. This is just blatantly, I don't care about Jay. I don't care about his time. I don't care about nothing. We're just going to move on because there's other bigger podcasts out there. We don't care about little old Jay in Australia. He'll fix it up. He'll fix his time. He can't be that important. So, because he said no to having a publicist on, watching along, we've now got the control. See, that's what I mean. It's control. And that's what annoys me and pisses me off. What could have been a fantastic and a great conversation has just now been ruined because they've taken control. And to me, this shows that Andrew and his team, very unprofessional. They don't care about honoring their word or their commitments to myself. They don't care about what I've had to give up, either my time. They don't care about that to be able to have him on my show. So this is what I mean. You claim to be a Christian as well, and yet you're acting like you don't care. So as a Christian, I'm looking at this going, well, he's not following what Jesus has clearly stated, but kindness being one, communication being another, proper communication, honoring your word, being respectful, those kinds of things are good character. And Andrew and his team have not shown good character at all. And that's why I'm making this video. It's a lesson. And it's a rebuke. And it's also a lesson for me in choosing guests moving forward. I thought, and I know that I have made videos about Candace and Brett leaving the Daily Wire, and it makes a hell of a lot more sense about how unprofessional the Daily Wire and their team actually are. It's really absurd. I don't know about you, but it's also extremely disappointing. I was very much looking forward to speaking with Andrew. Now it's just all, and maybe some people may think that I'm being petty. There's a reason why I'm making this video. And I want people to know that this is unacceptable. This is not how you should behave. If I need to reschedule something, I will send an email and I'll explain why I need to reschedule. I won't outright cancel an interview the day before. That's not who I am. And I guess I learned myself certain things today. It's unreal. So Andrew Klavan, what the hell, man? Care to explain? Don't think you care, but I think you should care. It's a testimony. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.